Colorado will get bowl eligible this week. Colorado will beat Cincinnati, which is having a very good season, and get bowl eligible this week.
Yeah, I think that's probably something I would agree with. Cincinnati is also 5-2 and 3-1 in the Big 12, and it's kind of a tough matchup. But the thing that I find interesting about Colorado, and it's true, is that for as much as we spent talking about them, and when I say we, I mean literally everyone spent talking about them in the offseason and in the first year of Deion. This little run that they're on right now has gone relatively quiet, right? Like we're not really speaking about them as much. And I don't know why that's the case. Maybe if they would have beaten Kansas State and Travis Hunter wouldn't have gotten hurt a few weeks ago, this would be a different story. But I thought after the first 2 weeks of this season, Andy, that this was just going to be a repeat of last year, a team that, has some exciting players and talks a lot and is entertaining from like a tabloid standpoint, but not very good at football. And I have to say, in the Colorado that I went back and watched and, watched some of the games on YouTube the last few days, like I actually think that this team is quite good in comparison to what I thought they were going to be. Now, that doesn't mean I think they're going to go beat Oregon or win a national championship, but given the fact that Deion Sanders has flipped his roster with 100 players almost in the 2-year period, we always say you can't build a defensive line. You can't build an offensive line that way. And yes, offensive line is their number one deficiency, but they lead the Big 12 in sacks right now. Like they've got really good.
Yeah, they built a defensive line that way. They got some good edge rushers. BJ Green came from Arizona State. Okunlola and line.
Oh,
the
Deion
other Pitt
Hayes.
transfer. Yes, Deion Hayes. Yes,
sorry.
They did a very good. Yeah, they did a very good job.
Didn't I, bud?
Getting edge guys out of the portal, and I think again, this will be another test. Like every Big 12 game, the -3.5. It's actually a 5.5 point spread in this game. Expecting Travis Hunter to play. Now he has missed time in each of the last 2 games with a shoulder injury. I don't know if this is, like they got the word out there that they expect him to play. If that's for the Heisman candidacy. I think the more Travis Hunter plays, obviously, the better Colorado has a chance of winning because he's such a dominant force on both sides of the field. But, this is one. If they win this one, there is a path for them into the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like, and I'm seeing it in the chat too. Like, who have they played? And again, this is always what people say, and I don't understand it. You guys realize that Colorado used to be the joke that people would say they haven't played anybody for. Like this, like you have to compare them to the metric of what they were, not who is the best, right? Like, I don't think that Andy and I are sitting here telling you that Colorado is a top 10 team right now. But what we are saying is that the improvement in the actual product on the field, not the hype, not the attendance, not the business sales in Boulder, the actual production of the football team on the field on Saturday, I think we could both agree is a lot further along than we anticipated, especially after week 2's 28-10 loss to Nebraska.
Yeah, they have improved dramatically over the team that we saw against Nebraska. And I think that's the key here. And remember, we had all the blazing takes after the Nebraska game. This is daddy ball. Is Deion here? And I don't know if Deion's there for the long haul or not. It sounds like he's still trying to flip Julian Lewis from USC, but then so is our guy, Coach Sig. So that's going to be quite the battle. But, watching them play, they've gotten better at times at running the ball. Now, they didn't against Kansas State, and that's probably why they lost. But against Arizona, they ran the ball 39 times for 148 yards. It's not Navy or Army numbers on the ground, but for a team that couldn't run the ball at all last year, it's a big improvement.
And like Arizona was supposed to be pretty good this year. Now, obviously, that's not going as well as people in Tucson would have hoped. And, I think expectations were tempered a little bit after they lost their coach and half their roster, last year, Jed Fish going to Washington. But like, I'm trying to keep it like just even keel with Colorado because it's very easy to get carried away with them. And I will say, and it's important to me that if I'm going to be critical and point out things that I don't think are going well at Colorado when they're not going well, I wrote the column today because I think it's important to be there as an impartial person to compliment the man when he's doing well.
I want to tell you about JLab. Great headphones. They've got the Lux over the ear ones. They've got the JLab Sport that go around the ear, so you can wear them when you're working out. They're gearing up for college football. Some of the top talent in the game, from Travis Hunter to Will Howard to Quinshon Judkins. These football stars embody JLab's core values of innovation, performance, and excellence. Just as JLab pushes the boundaries of audio and tech, these athletes redefine their sport with skill and dedication. Whether you're traveling to watch your favorite team or streaming the game on your mobile device, JLab has you covered. So find the blue box at retailers near you or visit JLab.com. Your kind of tech.
Now, I will tell you, and I'm sure this will get clipped, but the reason why I have been so critical of Deion, and I've said it every single time I've ever been critical of him, is that the potential for him when approaching and doing the job the way everybody else does it with his superpower is pretty limitless. And Big Cat on the show the other day said that Florida State can't be that down in the dumps because no matter what happens this year with Mike Norvell, they always have the magic bullet with Deion Sanders. And I think there's a lot of people who think that. But like, is Deion Sanders, what he's done at Colorado in the turnaround, I guess all that matters is what you see on the field, but is he qualified for a job like that if he's going to remain or is disinterested in high school football recruiting? Because
I think that's the problem Florida State has now. So I don't know that specific, just because it's all his alma mater, like that specific school, I don't think qualifies. But I do think one thing we need to think about, and this is something I still think if you want to compete for national championships, you have to have a base of recruited out of high school talent. We're not talking about competing for national championships at Colorado. We're talking about competing for a Big 12 championship, which I think they can do now. Like, if they win this game, their path to the Big 12 championship is not crazy. Like, they play Texas Tech, Utah, Kansas, and Oklahoma State. They can win all those games. Like, it's not crazy. You can do that.
They absolutely could go to the Big 12 championship game.
But you can build what I'm saying is you can build rosters in the Big 12 this way and win the Big 12, I think. If you want to win national championships, maybe not.
To me. Like, I understand, like, they're not playing Penn State, Oregon, Alabama, and Georgia every week, so it's a lot easier for them to get by with the deficiencies, because with those offensive line deficiencies, you just cannot play with teams that are capable of winning playoff games. And like, I don't think there's anything that any coach can do to fix that, as we've talked about with Oklahoma all year, that isn't, some portal supplementation, but also, signing classes of 5 or 6 linemen that you can develop every year. But here's the thing, Andy, and I want you to tell me that I'm nuts, because I am nuts.
Okay.
But when he took the job at Colorado, and I'm taking you back, I've peeled back the curtain on how I felt when Lincoln Riley went to USC, right?
Yep.
And that's proven to be wrong. But when he went to Colorado, and Colorado was still in the Pac-12, a conference that, mind you, had Oregon and USC in it, it had some problems that even
in Washington,
Washington, like that was a much harder proposition than this. But I thought that Deion Sanders would use his number one qualification as a coach, and to be a coach, which is superstardom, fame, and the ability to attract talent. And I legitimately thought the man was going to be able to sign top 15 classes every year. Like, and I don't know if you think I'm nuts for thinking that.
No, I thought the same thing. I felt exactly the same way.
So now you're talking about, and this is what makes it painful for me. And like, I think people think it's hate, but it's actually disappointment, because if he were successful, because like Colorado's got a lot to sell. I mean, if you go play, like when Colorado is good and fun, like they attract an audience, they're a talking point. You can go have an amazing college football experience at Colorado, especially if he's going to have his team prepared the way that he has. So like, he's passed certain tests that like a lot of people thought that he would fail. Like the ability to make a staff, like even with the Sean Lewis stuff last year, like I was like, oh boy, this is going off the rails. But the staff that he's put together at Colorado this year has been very good. And I think that we can say that they're a pretty well-coached team, right? Those were the tests that everybody thought he was going to fail. I never worried about, or like I thought that those were the tests that he might fail. The thing that I literally never worried about was his ability to attract talent. And that's the thing that's deficient right now. So if you were to, and that sounds crazy to say because they have two of the best players in college football and Travis Hunter and his son, Shedeur Sanders. And Colorado's level of athlete is certainly higher than it was before he started. But could you imagine if he matched his portal ability to get the flashy skill position players that he's gotten with top 15 classes in the Big 12 for 4 straight years, how good this freaking team would be? Like at a certain point, and I'm sure that Deion Sanders himself would appreciate this. Like, do you want to be held to the standard of the Colorado from 2020, or do you want to be held to the Coach Prime standard? Because the Coach Prime standard, this is pretty good, but I don't know that this is like right off into the sunset saying, I told you so good. So like, I think that like on one hand, I want to be like, awesome job. There's no question that Colorado is a completely different place now than it was when he got there. There's no question that that's something to celebrate and to applaud and to acknowledge, right? But on the other hand, I do know in my gut that if Deion Sanders woke up with the fire that Kirby Smart does when it comes to high school football recruiting, he legitimately could build a program at Colorado, and I still believe this, that could win the Big 12 for like 5 years in a row. And like maybe win playoff games. Like I think that is in the cards.
They could easily have the most talented roster. Now, and you look at Jordan Seaton this year, who was the number 1 offensive line recruit, who did go to Colorado, and he's gotten better and better every game. So it is very interesting. We're going to keep an eye on this one.
7 Jordan Seatons on the team.
I got you.
And there could be. I really legitimately think there could be. If he went to high schools and he recruited his ass off, like Deion Sanders is a very charismatic, handsome, charming, really is somebody that could sell anything. Like I would believe, like, and now that he has some proof of concept, right? Like that to me, go sign a top 10 class now and let's roll. Like that's, but like maybe that's just never going to happen. Maybe that's not what's in the cards for him. But for him to be qualified to take over at a Florida State or a program on that level with the expectations that they have, I don't know that you can do that by flipping 100 players in 2 years. But again, he's proven me wrong already, so maybe he'll do it again.
We shall see, but that's going to be a fun game. I'm telling you right now, because Cincinnati's been good. Everybody was down on Scott Satterfield before this season. Well, guess what? They've had a good year already. Brennan Sorsby has been a surprise, the transfer from Indiana. That's going to be a fun game because it's one of Colorado's toughest games left. And if they can win it, again, the path to the Big 12 title remains open, but they will be bowl eligible, which is something that I think a lot of people didn't
and I have to say this.
Deion was going to be able to do.
Your take is naked because Colorado is like a 6-point favorite in this game. So like
I know.
So
okay.
they're probably going to win. Yeah.